following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Monday, September 20th, 2021, Season 17, Episode number 24. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. And we get to rehash the very first Cowboys win of the season. Cowboys win 2017 to the LA Chargers at a really great stadium. And probably even more of a great stadium for the Cowboys. When you look at that stadium, Nick, I was mentioning to you, I thought it looked like an AT&T Stadium 2.0 because there were so many things about it that remind me of AT&T Stadium. But the other part that reminded me of AT&T Stadium is there are a lot of Cowboys fans there. A ton of Cowboys fans there.
Yeah. There's a reason Jerry Jones gets so excited about L.A. and playing on the West Coast. He knows who's out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's no mistaking the fact that the Cowboys spend every summer out in California because that builds over time. That Bills fans.
Imagine the behind-the-scenes conversations where Jerry's like, "Yeah, we need teams in L.A. We need to showcase this place, and I'll dominate the venue every time we come. It's gonna be awesome."
Nick, you actually had an interesting point you were making about the on the radio this morning. You were making about the crowd.
Well, I thought, at first I thought, man, they didn't. NFL didn't do them any favors, the Chargers, by putting, the Cowboys for their first game with fans. But, really when you think about it, and I also kind of heard through the grapevine, they didn't sell all their suites, and they had a hard time. They're having a hard time. We know that. They have a hard time with their fan base just generating fans. And
by the way, they're battling another team.
You're battling
in the
another
market,
team,
so both of them are brand new. To the market.
A team that's been in LA for years back in the day, and so I thought, well, maybe they did it on purpose. Because you think about it, you could take this big global picture, and it's like a lot of blue, silver, a lot of light blue, all that, but it's gonna blend in. It's gonna look great. It's gonna look full and all that. I mean, imagine if they put the Chiefs in there for week. Week 2.
Been like, why is there all that red?
Yeah, why is all this red in there? So, I just thought, well, maybe maybe they did that on purpose, to have a great venue there, and it was a great atmosphere. You're in there listening to it. It was like a bowl game to me. It was just 50-50. 60-40, whatever it is. I think the Cowboys had more fans. I think, and they were definitely louder if there wasn't.
Yeah, it was one of those games where you look at it, and as you're watching the game, we couldn't get a real appreciation for just how loud the crowd was because obviously in the press box it's a little walled off. But there were moments that you would hear go, "Let's go Cowboys, let's go Cowboys," and so it very much was a game that felt like it was a little bit of a home advantage for the Cowboys.
Absolutely. I mean, you should have expected it. I did my writing from the hotel bar last night. I met a guy.
Wow, that's how you do some writing. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I like the energy. I like having people around. Anyway, I met a guy. Shout out to Dallas from Bakersfield. He bought season tickets.
Oh no!
Just for that game.
Charger season tickets.
Charger season tickets.
Wow, that's commitment right there.
Sold off the rest of them and made a nice profit and still got to go to the game.
There you go.
I was like, that's dedication and smart.
That's the American way.
Way to go, buddy.
Yeah.
You're going to get emails for the rest of your life, but that's okay.
The Cowboys will be back in 8 years. You don't know. Yeah. So, well, maybe sooner now that they play more games.
And also, that's a really good preseason game.
Yeah.
Because it's good to go down to LA from Oxnard, but you don't always want to play the Rams because you're going to sometimes play them in the regular season. Mm-hmm. But I could see them trying to play the Chargers in preseason on that first game, or Vegas or something like that.
I feel like we're burying the lead here. Let's talk about the game.
All right, so let's do this. I want to start with this. I want you each to give me one big picture story of the game. If you're going to remember week 2 of 2021, what is that memory point? What is that one thing that you'll remember from this game? Let's start with you, Dave.
Two things that kind of go hand in hand. One, I've lost track over the years of the number of times that I've sat in the bowels of a stadium after the Cowboys lost and been like, they just shot themselves in the foot too many times. Like, they shouldn't have lost this game, and they did, and it's their own fault. And that's how the Chargers felt yesterday, and they should. I mean, it was bizarre, but in a weird way encouraging that the Cowboys were on the other hand of that. It's like, you're not always going to have a perfect game. You're not always going to just outplay the opponent. But if you're more disciplined and cleaner, less penalties,
Even a little bit cleaner, yeah.
Because the Cowboys did not play like a great game.
Yeah.
But they didn't have 2 touchdowns taken away because of miscues at the snap. Right. And that stuff mattered. And so it was surreal for the Cowboys to be the quote-unquote cleaner team that kind of snuck out with a win. Same thing. We talk about complimentary football to the point that I don't think we even know what it means anymore. But this was that. This was the team lifting itself up, because the formula for Cowboy wins over the last 3 years has just been, if the offense is clicking and scoring points, they can do enough to get by. This is the first time, I believe, since the wild card game win against Seattle that they've won a game when they didn't score 30 points. They haven't been able to do it.
That's amazing.
They haven't been able to do it. And so it wasn't an amazing Dak game. The offense was not lighting up the scoreboard. Special teams was sloppy. A lot of it was sloppy. And they managed to win a very SEC type of score, 2017, not super high flying like maybe we thought. And they still eked it out. And that's impressive, because you got to win those clunky games, because you're not always going to have your best effort. So that's important, and it felt big to me.
Nick?
I thought, we asked Dan Quinn to figure it out. That's what we said to do. I mean, you don't know who your pass rushers are. Both of them are out. Both starters are out. Figure out how to get these guys involved, and he did. I'm not going to sit here and tell you after basically complaining about it for the first half and third quarter that I thought it was a bad move with Parsons. It's hard to come back now.
Nick was killing me, man. Nick was killing me.
I didn't like it.
Parts of that game. You hated it.
I didn't like it.
You absolutely hated it.
No, at all. And I thought they were wasting Parsons. I thought they were, and they did for the first half. They did. I mean, he got 19 passes and he rushed it 19 times and got two rushes. I thought they were wasting him. He got better. They also realized, don't mess with Rashawn Slater. Like, that ain't happening. Come over this side, and also the side that Herbert can see, and then he can't roll the way he wants to roll. So Parsons did a nice job of figuring it out, and you got to give I'm going to give Jalen Smith some credit. I thought he played a really good game for having to. That's not his thing, to go cover the Austin Eckler and all that. And he did a pretty good job in that game. Led the team in tackles. I would have flipped it myself. I would have rushed somebody else and let Parsons be the guy. But, I mean, there's some people right now that are thinking that he's never going to move back.
I mean, those people, I think, are sorely mistaken. There's no way that he's going to be playing defensive end for this team long term. I don't think.
Oh, man. Well, it's weird, too, because I don't even think that he played defensive end. Like, he was a pass rush specialist. Like, he didn't put his hand in the dirt. He had some nice plays against the run. What?
Wait, he did. There were some times when he was literally lined up as a hand in the dirt defensive end.
He was there as a pass rush specialist. It's not the same as watching DeMarcus Lawrence do his thing, in my opinion, at least. Like, they were just like, all right, you know enough moves to get yourself through the game. You're super athletic. Just get out there and get after
Why
Herbert.
didn't they run at him more?
That's what I was.
Good question. That's my point. Is like, as amazing as he was, like, he is not this well-rounded defensive end who's going to hold up the way that somebody like DeMarcus Lawrence would.
Eckler and the way that they play on offense, that's what figuring it out is. It's like, we can do this against the Chargers, maybe not against other teams, because they're going to play more power football at him. But they figured it out, and I thought that series was changed the whole game when he got that quote sack. Which, if I'm a Charger fan, I'm absolutely livid and pissed off about that call, because that call lost the game for him. The keeping Herbert upright, saying that his momentum stopped, and they called a sack. I thought that was a terrible call, and it worked for the Cowboys, because they don't do that to other people. Mm-hmm. They don't do that to Mahomes. They don't do that to Lamar Jackson. They don't do that to Dak. Let Herbert be an athlete, and he's up there fending him off and throws it. That's an incomplete pass. And
they don't have the in the grass rule
anymore.
I grew up on that rule, but they don't
can't
have
believe
that
call.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with you, but I will say it's nice. It's nice that the way they go out of their way to protect the quarterback, and it's nice to see it benefit a defense for once because they make it so hard to do your job as a defender, especially getting after the quarterback.
Well, and my complaint, I've complained about it for years. In no other place in football or in life can you hit anyone in the face and it'd be okay unless you have a ball in your hand. If you have a ball in your hand and Micah Parsons comes up and you can hit him in the face, no big deal. That's fine. So he was doing that and all that, so it was kind of like, well, that's the call then.
The point I was going to make before we got into the semantics of what he was doing is I don't know how you don't want that available to you at least some of the time from here on out. And I hear you. Jalen Smith's not closing on Justin Herbert like that. That's one of the most amazing things I've seen on a football field.
You're right about
memory.
that.
Exactly right.
The way, he was 12 yards away from Herbert, and in the blink of an eye,
no, you're right.
He was on. I can't say enough about how incredible I thought that was. Like we say, shot out of a cannon all the time. It was maybe more impressive than that. And I'm just like, if he can do that against an athlete like Herbert, he could really come in handy against a less mobile quarterback.
You're right. But what my point was, in the first half, there was a lot of just going up there, and it was a lot of family reunion hugging style. It was just like, hey, how's it going?
Oh, especially, and
that's it.
I'm not blind.
Kamara could do this.
He ain't Von Miller, and Storm Norton was what we thought Terrence Steele might be in this game. I mean, he was Waldo.
He was getting pushed around.
He's going to have nightmares about Micah for weeks. And it's Lane Johnson next week. I have a feeling it'll be a little bit of a different story.
Right.
So I'm not. He ain't Lawrence Taylor yet. Randy will be back.
The way I look at all that is, look, this is a guy that found out on Thursday. He said that in his post-game press conference. Thursday, he found out in his second NFL start, he is actually going to be playing a different position. And I think when you put it in that context, I think he played extremely well at that position. Now, here's the thing. The reason why I say it's ludicrous to think he's going to be a defensive end is because kind of what you were saying, Dave. I look at a guy like that and I say, okay, if he's got that ability to do that on a Thursday's notice, and I already have seen what he can do at linebacker, I want him to be doing a lot of different things in the game. I want defenses to not know where he's coming from. So this play, he might line up with his hand in the dirt and rush as a defensive end. The next play, he might be in the middle and come up the middle. Next play, he might be back covering in pass coverage. We know we've seen him do all those things between training camp and now. We've seen him do all those things. I'd rather have him just be a guy that runs around the field, and I can use him however I choose to use him on a given play.
He said it at training camp. He's the queen in a chess set.
Yeah.
You can go everywhere and do everything.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. And I firmly believe, for as impressive and athletic as he is, I think that would be a mismatch against a better offensive tackle. I mean, Slater stonewalled him.
Yeah.
And so I don't think you want to waste him doing that all 60 snaps of a game. But it's nice to know it's there.
Yeah.
It's very nice to know it's there.
Right. All right, so here's what I want to do. We're actually going to take our first break real quick, but when we come back, I'm actually going to go through all of the things that we talked about on Friday, the storylines that we talked about, and I want to see how they turned out. We'll talk about what you guys' thoughts are on those storylines and what happened in the game based upon what we were wondering about or thinking about heading into the game. We'll do that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a Cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting Cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/Cowboys.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys? Jack Black. Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to the break.
Head to AT&T Stadium on Sunday, September 26th to experience the first rally day of the season presented by SeatGeek. Get ready to cheer on the Cowboys with tours of AT&T Stadium, autographs from the Cowboys cheerleaders, Dallas Cowboys alumni, ticket giveaways, games, inflatables, and more. Check out the brand new Miller Lighthouse and get excited for kickoff on Monday. Visit AT&TStadium.com for tickets and more information.
Welcome back. This is the second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're talking about the Cowboys' win over the Los Angeles Chargers. They win 20-17 in Week 2 of the NFL season. It's now pulled them into a tie in first place in the division. It's very early to be saying that, but the Eagles, after their loss, are now 1-1. Washington football team, after their wins, now 1-1, and then obviously the Giants pulling up the rear at 0-2. We'll talk more about that big picture stuff tomorrow, but here's what we're going to do for now. We're going to talk about the storylines. On Friday, if you remember, we went through a whole list of storylines on the offense, defense, and special teams. What we thought would be the things that would actually define what happened in this game. And so I wanted to go back and revisit those things and see how a lot of them turned out. Let's start first on the offensive side of the ball. We talked about Lyle being replaced by Terrence Steele, and he'd be facing Joey Bosa. And the question I have for you guys is Dak good enough that this doesn't affect their ability to move the ball? So I want to talk about both things. I want to talk about first Dak Prescott. He was 23 of 27 for 237 yards, 2 sacks, 1 interception, and 87.8 rating. How did Dak play in your opinion?
He was a game manager. Again, that's nothing bad. I mean, bus driver type player for this game. And please don't go at me on that. I think that's a great thing. Tom Brady is a bus driver, and he drives the hell out of it, and he's been doing it forever. He manages the game. There's nothing wrong with that. That's exactly what he did. He had one bad throw he'd like to take back. But I thought for the most part, when it got down to nut cutting time, he was going to do it. If you needed a 36-yard field goal, he would have done it. If you needed 46, 56, he got it at 56. But he did what he had to do. I thought he played a really good, smart game. Again, 1 interception for the most part. Could have had a touchdown if he would have saw Amari down the left sideline. Instead, threw it to Jarwin. They scored anyways. I thought he played great.
I can't believe how similar this game was to the season opener against the Rams last year, who were coached on defense by Brandon Staley. I don't think that's a coincidence. Same score. And I pulled up Dak's... Different fans. Yeah, I mean, it was much more fun, I'm sure.
Yeah, Nick actually showed me the suite where he sat last year by himself watching that game with no audience.
I can't imagine how weird that must have been.
There.
Yeah, I feel for you. But I pulled up his passing chart.
Yeah.
It's the same. Like, there were a few more throws behind the line of scrimmage, but it's just a scatter shot of 12 to 18-yard plays. He threw it further than 20 yards twice in both games. He got intercepted this year, not last year. The one big shot he took was out of necessity to Michael Gallup last year. It's the way Brandon Staley wants to play. They were in too high all day. Mm-hmm. Brandon Staley's whole mode of business is, I'm going to play back and dare you to be patient because you're an alpha and I don't trust that you will do it. Mm-hmm. You're going to get impatient and do something stupid, and that's how we're going to get you. And it was even better with the Rams because they had Aaron Donald and you can stop the run even when you're not committing to it. Didn't work for the Chargers yesterday. I think that was a big part of it. The Cowboys were like, okay, we're going to run 6 yards of carry on your ass. Like, who cares?
Yep.
It didn't work that well against the Rams because they have better personnel. So I thought Dak played within the confines of what the Chargers were willing to let him do. It's kind of ironic. I felt like the Chargers were trying to play keep away, which that's kind of been the Cowboys.
It slowed them down on offense. I mean,
they had the ball 3 times after halftime.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think the Chargers ran like 40 plays in the second half. I don't know the Cowboys number, but I bet it's not more than 25 or 26.
Yeah, but that was also because in the first half, Cowboys were moving the ball really well. The first 3 possessions, they got a touchdown, and I think that first drive was 15 plays, total possession of 651, and then the second touchdown was 7 plays, 75 yards, 315. So they were not only eating up clock, but they were taking these long. You just finished saying they dared you to be patient. Well, the Cowboys are like, great, we'll be patient, and they just matriculated the ball down the field and scored touchdowns on 2 of those 3 possessions.
And from the time the game kind of settled into more of I'm not going to say rhythm. That game had no rhythm at all. 20 freaking penalties. It was gross at times. But it just felt like the Chargers were like, all right, we need every possession to last 8 minutes. And so bland call on first down, bland call on second down. Justin, get out there and bail us out on third down. And it worked way more often than you'd probably prefer.
Yeah, especially on third and long. They were not supposed to be converting at that rate. And at one point in the game, they had converted 4 of 6 third and 10-plus situations. And that's not something you should be seeing on any NFL field.
But I thought he played great within the confines. And can we make this a weekly thing? We've done it 2 for 2. Both games. Like last possession, Derek looks at me in the press box. He's like, what's going to happen? And I'm like, Dak is going to lead them to field goal range. Yeah. There is no doubt in my mind about that. My big question was, can they kick this field goal and not leave Herbert any time? And it was way more of a cluster F than it should have been, but it worked out.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next topic I have for you guys. Oh, actually, talking on that one, we didn't talk about Terrence Steele. Let's talk about Bosa. Bosa had 3 tackles on the day, no sacks, no quarterback hits. So how well does Steele play, and how much help did they give him?
No, we're not going there. I mean, he might have got a little bit of help, but not more so than any other right tackle kind of gets.
You sure about that?
Yes.
In the post game, McCarthy said we paid a ton of attention to him, and I haven't been able to go back and watch it to be able to see how much. But the way he made it sound was like we definitely made it a point that he was not going to just be left out there on an island by himself.
I mean, they gave him some help. Zeke had some really nice chips. The tight ends helped. And also, again, going back to Dak playing within the confines, he was getting the ball out. I mean, very short routes, quick decisions.
Same as the week before.
You're not going to have these long, slow developing plays like we saw from Herbert. But I don't want to take credit away from Terrence Steele.
Agreed.
Because all week it was doom and gloom, and I'm not saying that we believed in Terrence Steele, but people are just like, he's going to get Dak killed, and he was great. He was wonderful. He deserves some flowers.
Yeah.
He
deserves some flowers.
I mean, he was. Zach Martin said after the game, he said there's some times where we have those center slide protections to the right, where I get my guy and I kind of go and help him. And he goes, and most of the time he didn't need the help. I thought where we thought Terrence Steele was a lot more of an agile, athletic offensive tackle that could handle Bosa's athleticism, he actually overpowered him more with his blocking. And go back and look at that touchdown that Zeke had, the Zeke touchdown, where, I mean, that whole right side, it's Zach Martin. And let's also say, Zach Martin played a phenomenal game. Who's surprised? No, not me, but I mean, he played a masterful game, and I thought having him there just solidified everything. But Terrence Steele, Zach Martin on that touchdown run just really dominated. He did a nice job in the running game as well.
Yep. And I mean, that was not in any way to take a slight at him because I think he played really well. By the way, there were a lot of times last year when they gave him help and it didn't turn out great. So I think he did his job yesterday, and that's a part of coaching the right way. It may be the first time I've seen from the Cowboys in a long time. You hear all the time that mantra, next man up. Like yesterday, they had a lot of people saying next man up. And by the way, and we're going to get into a lot of those other guys as well, But we saw a lot of guys actually taking that mantra seriously yesterday and actually being able to fill in those roles and play at a higher level.
I mean, everybody that was called on in that situation did something. Terrence Steele was great. Cedric Wilson had that wonderful. I thought he might have scored if he'd cut the other way on that.
That was a heck of a run, though.
Absolutely awesome. Micah Parsons did his thing.
We'll get to Jalen a little bit.
Yeah,
Nick kind of mentioned him. I think there were a lot of guys yesterday that played well beyond what you may have thought of them, but they had to in order to get this team to where they were going to get the win. Let's move on to the next topic. The Charger defense allowed 124 rush yards in Week 1. And Dallas never really got their rush established. Does Dallas take advantage of the run this week? That was the question going in. Obviously.
We don't need to spend a ton of time on that.
Right, but Tony Pollard goes 13 carries for 109 yards and a touchdown, 3 catches for 31 yards. Then Zeke had 16 carries for 71 yards and a touchdown, 2 catches for 26 yards. My question for you guys is, what are your thoughts on the way they're sharing the responsibilities? Because we even noticed in Week 1, this is not a situation where you got a series where you'll bring in Pollard and spell Zeke and then you're back to Zeke. Like, they are really using these guys interchangeably at this point. What are your thoughts on that distribution of carries?
I think it's absolutely wonderful, and it's been baffling to me forever that the Cowboys weren't better at it. Like, you look at, I mean, it's been a few years at this point, but New Orleans would just rotate Kamara and Ingram on the same drive, on the same possession, and get them both on the field. Maybe not. Maybe it's Ingram for 2 or 3 plays, then Kamara. And then the Cowboys were always like, well, this is the Alfred Morris possession. It's the 3rd possession of the hat. Like, no, it's boring.
Wasn't that the banana in the tailpipe?
Yeah. So I just
business dinner.
I thought it was great that what they are doing with these guys is phenomenal, and it reminds me of the Dalton Schultz, Blake Jarwin thing. Like, who's the starter? Like, who cares? They're both good. Tony Pollard's too good to be on the bench,
as we see.
And you should be encouraged as a Cowboy fan that it doesn't seem like the politics of contract size is getting in the way of that. I mean, it would be easy to say that Zeke needs to be on the field because he makes $15 million a year. And for some reason, I think there's some people that are offended by that. It's like, well, Zeke needs to be touching the ball more because he makes money. No, whatever. Like, that money's spent. Whatever. We can have. That's a separate conversation. But in the season, when winning is all that matters, I just want good players on the field. So I don't care about that.
Yeah.
And I'm very encouraged that they don't seem to care either.
Well, fans don't ever care that Dak made $2 million a year going to the Pro Bowl as a quarterback, and no one cares that Tony Pollard's contract's $1 million a year. I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
is it even that much? He's a 4th-round pick.
I think he's. I think he's got like a. Yeah, I mean, I think his salary cap charge is about $1 million.
I got you.
His salary might not be that.
I got you.
But yeah, overall, he's like a $3 million guy for 4 years.
So you're getting a budget there.
You're getting. I thought Zeke had a nice game too. He had a couple of runs. He had a run that was about to tweet out, and then Dak threw a pick. But it was the 8-yard run right before that interception where. It was a really good vintage Zeke type run. Everything going left. He looks back, sees a hole, cuts it back, puts his foot in the ground, and gets good. He got hit about 4 yards, but carried it till 8. I mean, I thought that was a very good Zeke type of run. And then an interception came, but I thought he had a really good game too. But Pollard just on the edge. I mean, he was dynamic.
It's one of the. I'm sick of it. It's such a huge cliche. We got to find a better. There's another nickname out there besides Thunder and Lightning. There has to be, because it's the only nickname anybody's ever been able to come up with over the last 25 years. But kind of what's happening here. I do think there is a value.
21-20.
Okay. What about 2021?
I was about to say 2021.
That makes more sense.
It does? Well, Zeke makes more money, so he should be the starter.
Whatever. It's a nice combo. I didn't hear this before the game, but I was talking to Brad Sham afterward. And I guess Staley, again, coached the Rams in Week 1 last year. In that empty stadium, he was like, you can feel it from the sideline, like when Zeke is carrying the ball, just like the impact when he's just hammering people. And I do think that matters.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard is more explosive than he is. It is what it is. Yeah. But again, these are not bad things. These are good things.
2021 is good. That's the year they're in.
I thought,
yeah.
I think they go great in tandem, and I love that Kellen Moore realizes that Tony Pollard is a guy who needs to have his number called.
I love the touchdown call, the sweep around, the first touchdown to Pollard where it was just he was in motion and they just gave it to him. We thought later on there might be a fake one and they would play off of that, but I love that play because their best player on defense, Joey Bosa, they didn't block him. They just said, I'm going to run full speed. I mean, it's basically an arena football type of play where the guy's going in full speed, but he's just in motion, and he's coming around the corner, and it's like we're not going to block Bosa. He's going to get up the field, and he's going to go one-on-one, and he's not even going to touch him because he doesn't have the momentum going his way. It's just kind of weird when you think about it. You block him. Bosa won't even mess with him because Pollard will get around him, and he did.
Yep. Yeah, I love what they're doing. I think it's really great, and I think it's going to serve them well as they get later in the season because they'll have two options there at running back so they can kind of interchange those guys. Or if you get an injury there, you still have somebody that you feel very comfortable with.
No disrespect to Cedric Wilson. I thought he played a really good game, but I think going into the game, it was like, the next man up. It was basically Pollard as that next playmaker.
Do you think that was it, or do you think it was a game that this game plan called for just more runs? And so they were like, instead of having Zeke run 30 times, let's use them both interchangeably because we know we're going to run the ball a ton.
Right, and that happened, and that's probably why it led to it. But I think they're figuring out how to get Pollard involved.
I do think when they're in the game plan meetings, especially in a week where Michael Gallup's not available, they're talking about Tony before they talk about Cedric. We got to find touches for 20. We'll figure it out for number one.
Cedric's fine. He didn't. That one play where he was weaving through. For a second, it looked like he might break it all the way, just the way he had gotten through the line.
If he had cut it left to the sideline, it's hard to ever say if you're going to score because everybody in the NFL is so fast. But there was another 30 yards of real estate there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not hating on the guy. It was a great
still
play.
A great play. Yeah.
It's the fun of having that kind of angled view from, we're almost in the end zone and you can see the lanes so much better than you do on the TV copy.
Then you can see when you're actually on the field running with the ball. It's easy for us to say, well, if you'd have cut back here, it's a very different perspective.
That 300-pound freak was bearing down on me. Did you not see that? Okay. Sorry.
That's all I saw. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the defense. Here was the thought I had last week. Both starting defensive ends were presumably out. They were out. Does Dallas find a way to get pressure, and how? Dallas did end up getting 2 sacks. But here was the interesting part for me. He had 9 quarterback hits. They hit him a lot yesterday. How did you think they did from a standpoint of just their pass rush and how much it could affect the game?
I mean, just in the cut and dry sense of how did they do, not very well.
Yeah.
But that's because they didn't have DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory. I mean, they were down an absurd degree. You're down your best 2 guys. You're moving your third best pass rusher is moving out of position. So, no, I mean, they didn't get enough pressure on him, but they weren't going to. That was the big storyline for the game. And, I mean, the fact that they were able to make him as uncomfortable as they did was a win, given who they had available.
Yeah, I think next week, if Gregory comes back, obviously Gregory and Dorrance Armstrong will probably be your starters. I do think, you need to figure out, like Dave said, figure out different packages to get Parsons in there. I would imagine that Kamara will be up instead of Anai.
You think?
Yeah. I liked not just the play that we saw Kamara. Herbert got around him a little bit. He needed to take a different angle there. He could have really made a nice play on him, but he had a couple more rushes later in the game. Kamara did. I didn't see Anai really doing a whole lot there, and I don't think Anai's this great run stopper. So if you're going to just get a guy in there to run and rush, Kamara will probably be that guy. But it's good to have Gregory back. I think they got to figure out how to get Parsons to do a little bit of everything. But he had a lot of time. I thought the third down numbers would be a lot more when I was looking at them. 5 of 12 for 41%. I would have thought it was more about a 60%.
It felt like 7 of 10.
Yeah.
It's just
the Cowboys were 6 of 10 on third down.
Well, they just were never on the field. It was a maddening one. I like Justin Herbert a lot. I'm buying stock in his career.
No doubt.
He's a hell of a quarterback.
And continuing on that conversation of the defense, Jalen Smith led the team with 9 tackles. What did you think of his performance? Nick kind of alluded to it a little earlier, but what were your thoughts?
He played, and you grade on a curve, right? Like for the expectation, which is that everybody hates him, and he can't make any plays, and he's always out of position. And he wasn't perfect by any stretch, but with all of that into consideration, I thought he played a really good game.
Yeah, did you?
I mean, he made a couple plays in space. There were a couple of plays. He had a tackle on Eckler. Mm-hmm. I was just in my head. I'm just like, Jalen, you're not going to get there. Oh, okay, he made the tackle.
And on one of them, he carried Eckler across the field, and Eckler made the catch. Which, when you're going across field, there's a lot of times that you expect they're going to make the catch because the defender is at a disadvantage in those situations. But I thought he stayed with him and actually made the tackle after the catch. I was impressed.
He had a pass breakup, and I don't know if he was doing the LeBron stomp or what that was. No, I'm serious because LeBron was there.
Yeah, he was.
Who wasn't?
Yeah,
there was a ton of people there that celebrity types.
That was, Conor McGregor.
But that's Los Angeles.
I know. Like every NBA player.
Post Malone was there, of course.
Yeah, it was kind of weird that they put, the Chargers. welcome Jamie Foxx. It's like, he does our stuff. Jamie Foxx does whatever.
Right.
Cool, thanks.
Right.
But it's easy to talk about Jalen because he played and how did he do, and then Parsons is doing this and that. I mean, let's. Quietly, Leighton Vander Esch had a nice game too. 7 tackles, 2 for loss, had a sack. I mean, it worked out to do it this way, to put Parsons here to rush. He got better as the game went on, and those guys were able to man up there in the middle. I haven't seen Keanu Neal do a whole lot since
he actually had a play, because I tweeted about it when he did it, and I was like, these linebackers are actually playing really well. And I'm not talking – at that point, I wasn't talking about Parsons. I was talking about the other 3. And they all were making just these different plays that were just kind of catching your attention. And Neal had done something – I forgot what it was, but he'd done something that was I thought was an outstanding play. But, yeah, I think all 3 of the linebackers, I think, did a really fine job yesterday. And, again – that's one of the areas where they have depth. So now you're able to fill in a little bit with what you're missing on the defensive line and use some of that depth at linebacker, and as we will talk about a little bit later, maybe even at safety.
Considering the circumstances they were up against, and they didn't play wonderful. And I think it's worth pointing out. I mean, it goes both ways, because the Jaron Kearse interception that got wiped out was BS. That was a terrible call. That was just run-of-the-mill contact. It should have stood. But at the same time, the Chargers had 2 touchdowns wiped out, and one of them looked like last year, and that was what I was afraid of. Herbert got away from the rush and extended it, and he's like, 81's just standing down there on the 5-yard line. Like, that type of stuff makes you nervous, but it gets wiped out by a flag, so nobody really worries about it after the game. All of that considered, they got picks, they made great play, like they made plays in space, and they did not let Herbert's ability to extend plays kill them. I mean, he hurt him a couple times. Jeez Louise, I almost said something else. The throw that Herbert made across the hash and it went above Diggs' hand.
To Keenan out.
One of the most amazing throws I've ever seen. And it's easy to hate on Diggs for not making the play or not being in better position. Herbert might be the only quarterback in the NFL who can make that throw, honestly. I mean, he's a free. And so, again, all of that in consideration, didn't have a pass rush to speak of, not like you would prefer. They held up pretty well. 17 points and picked him off and made life difficult for him.
We're going to go ahead and take our final break. When we come back, I do want to talk a little bit about the safety position. We saw some players step up there, and we got to obviously give a little love to Trayvon Diggs as well. We'll do that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
If you're at AT&T Stadium, you got to check out this new Miller Lite House. So you got yard games, Dallas Cowboys cheerleader performance. You got a lot of beer gardens out there. For more information, go to visit AT&TStadium.com/Miller Lighthouse. Miller Lighthouse, your tailgate just got jealous.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Man, it's just one of those mornings, man. It's
Must have been an important phone call.
Well, it's
okay.
It's
I mean, because
the wife trying to figure out car stuff. So it happens. You know, Nick. It happens. It happens. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're in the final segment. We're talking about the things that happen in this game. We've talked about the defense. I didn't get to the secondary though, and I think the secondary was an area where we saw, for myself, I saw confirmation of things I thought during training camp, which are really, number one, I think Trayvon Diggs is the truth. I think he is going to be a very good cornerback for this team, the kind of cornerback you can put on the best receiver from the other team, and he's not going to get beat up. And he's going to make some plays. And that interception he made, I thought, was phenomenal. But the second part to that is I think they've got a ton of depth at safety, more than they've had in a very, very long time. What do you guys think about the secondary in yesterday's game?
Well, I mean, Diggs has got one goal at this point individually, and that's to make the Pro Bowl. I mean, that's the track that he's on here. He gets interceptions. He's got 2 now, and 2 games, but more than anything, he's traveling with great players, and Keenan Allen is a great player.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was just an outstanding matchup there. And give CeeDee Lamb credit because they worked Trayvon Diggs, and I mean it was he got all this kind of attention at training camp, and so he's going to get. We said it all the time is that this is preparing him for the season. So I thought Diggs did an outstanding job, and they make plays on the ball. Great catch. Kazee with a great catch. Great play by Curse. I mean, that was an outstanding play. Okay, penalty, fine, but to find the ball and get it. So they're making plays. That's what I like about it.
I might owe Trayvon Diggs an apology. It's not like I didn't think he wasn't good, but we talk about it all the time where I was like, I've been here before. Byron Jones looked like an all-pro safety in 2017, and you watch the same thing over and over and over again, and you're in this bubble of confirmation, and things get twisted. So I was in my head, I was like, let's see how Diggs does once the season starts. Like, is he as good as he looks, or is this another banana in the tailpipe? Clearly, I was incorrect. I mean, he's a stud. He looks fantastic.
Alabama players can be tricky.
Yeah,
if they're not first-round picks, the first-round picks are typically in the pass rushers, and all those guys are great. But if you're not a first-round pick at Alabama, especially a secondary guy, you're thinking, was he really that good, or is he just playing with all these other great players and great pass rushers and all that? Because you go back and look, I mean, across the league, the Alabama players taking rounds 2 through 7, they're not as great at all. I mean, it's a huge drop-off. And I'm of course it is from the first round, but I'm saying they don't even fall through the cracks, So he is actually performing like
like a first round pick.
Like a first round pick.
Yeah.
And the other thing, Trayvon, awesome. Which I just looked. Keenan Allen had 100 yards. Did not feel like it. Did not feel like it at all. Which
wow.
I mean, that's a testament to I think how hard it is to hold that offense down. And he got
and how hard it is to hold him.
He got an enormous chunk of that on that one super extended play. He caught the ball down by like the 5-yard line.
Yeah, he had a 42-yard long catch.
And I'm not sold that this secondary is some incredible unit. I know they're not. They're not. But I'm super encouraged and excited. And Nick just said it. They have ball skills. Like both of Diggs's picks have been no Cowboys DB in the last decades making that play. Even I said that last night to Todd Archer. We were on the same plane. I was like, both of Diggs's picks, that's not happening. He was like, well, Diggs' first pick was just a tipped screen pass. And I was like, guys that were here 5 years ago would have done this thing for a couple seconds.
Too fast at him.
Let it hit the ground, and then they're pounding on the ground and doing push-ups and the
old hand clap.
Diggs makes the play.
Yeah.
J-Ron Kurt, again, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but there are safeties that have been here in past years where the ball would pop up in the air, and again, they kind of bat at it and it hits the ground.
Now when that happens, it's Dorrance Armstrong.
Right, yeah.
Like the ball hit him because everybody's like, well, make the play, But okay, if you're a safety, that's one thing. Defensive end, I think he gets a pass.
Yeah, you get a pass.
DeMonte Casey's, he had the most straightforward play, and that one might have been even more difficult because Herbert throws a freaking laser to a guy on another level, so it's even closer. Mm-hmm. He saw it. He had a quarter of a second to react to that, and he goes up and snags it like a receiver.
Yep.
And
very impressive play.
And then,
in the end zone, by the way. That's what made it such a great turnover.
And then just the alert, thinking of like, oh, let's get down. He even said, man, I thought, man, I could get out and make a play, and then he was like, no, it's important, and that helped them, know.
And so that's two games now. 6 takeaways in 2 games. I don't know if you keep this momentum up, but if they can make plays like this, that translates, right? If you have the wherewithal to react like that and make the play, it gives me confidence that you can do it on a reliable basis. Maybe not 6 every 2 weeks, but reliably getting them instead of we're so used to the Cowboys defense going through stretches where it's like, well, it's been a month since they've had a takeaway.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll happen if these guys can play with ball skills like that. So that's really encouraging. And yeah, by the way, I talked about this with Todd last night too. They had the rash of takeaways in December last year. Brandon Allen, Nick Mullins, and Jalen Hurts. They got 6 takeaways against Brady and Herbert.
Yep.
The GOAT and one of the most exciting young quarterbacks in the league. So if they can do it against those guys, they should be able to do it against a lot of guys.
Here comes Hurts. Here comes Darnold. Here comes Daniel Jones.
Bring Daniel Jones in here. Come on.
Bring him to me.
And then Mac Jones. I mean, you got Mac Jones with New England. I mean, you've got 4 games in a row now where, I mean, this is the stretch. We talked about it when the schedule comes out. Everybody probably put a split here, right? And then it's like, this is where you've got to hit it right here.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to win these 4 games if you really want to be that kind of team. Now, yes, they can lose a game and they'll be fine and all that, but I mean, because 2 of them are division home games, got to win that. And I think they can beat New England. I'm not trying to get ahead. I'm just saying this is a stretch where, you can go 1-1. They could be 5-1, and I'm not trying to be that guy.
You're being that guy.
Well,
right
but we've seen it, and I wrote this last night. Moral victories. This is why we talk about moral victories, because it helped their morale.
It builds confidence.
It built confidence. They figured out how to win even when they didn't. They said we can rely on all these people. Our defense can make plays. Our kicker can make a kick at the end of a game. We can go into a road place and we can win and we can beat they didn't, but it led them to this. I think they won this game. It all started in Tampa. And let's not forget this, and this is what my column was last night. You can't get a crazier week than the Cowboys had last week on the field. I mean, or practice. I mean, there was more injuries in practice than in the movie The Program, where they're like hitting each other Oklahoma drill. I mean, Leon Lett gets hurt. I mean,
Ty and Secchi goes to the hospital.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, DeMonte Kazee and Cyrus Mitchell, they run into each other. Mitchell's out 6 weeks, and he got hurt, and at least he came back. I mean, Gregory's out, and DeMarcus Lawrence gets hurt in practice too. Yeah. Like all these things happen, and they were able to come here and get that win. And I'm sitting here thinking how much time we have left here, because we do need to talk about the final.
That's next on the docket. As soon as y'all finish,
I'm done.
Whatever you gotta say here.
Derek's a very checkbox guy.
I'm very organized when it comes to this show. I have to be.
I probably would have started with the final drive.
No, and actually we saved that to the last part because I knew I wanted to dive into this. So talk me through that last sequence. What happened there? Obviously, there are a ton of people out there that are like, he completely talking about McCarthy, completely mismanaged that last, I guess it would have been 33 seconds or so. What actually happened, and what do you believe was the issue, or was it just a circumstance that just kind of got him there?
I take out the word completely, and then I'm good with that.
Okay.
I think he mismanaged it. Completely mismanaged it? Nah, because they got a field goal, and he trusted the guy to make it. But I think that it was mismanaged because you should have got another play there. But I can speak from experience. I was standing not too far from there, and I saw that the light that he was looking up.
Explain what McCarthy said first, so people kind of know that. But go ahead.
Okay, so it's second down, and they run the ball to Pollard with about 33 seconds to go. Now it's 3rd and 3, and him and Kellen Moore are looking straight ahead at a video board that's been there all game that has the clock and it has the down and distance, and it went out. Straight went out.
Like went black.
It wasn't like a Chargers, 3rd down, but all that, which they used to do that, and then the NFL's stopped that on those boards. But so now they're looking around, and they haven't found that second clock. Because Dak is looking at a clock, he's got it. So then I think they panicked a little bit. Also, Tony Pollard came off the field, and he wasn't supposed to. So that messed up their play because they had 2 plays called.
Yep.
So now they're just kind of in scramble mode, and then they get to that 17 seconds is when they said is the threshold for, running a play and then
with no timeouts.
Yeah. But they did have one. I personally, when all that happened, I would call a timeout with about 28 seconds. I'm taking my last timeout, and I'm going to try to get a first down. I'm probably going to throw it.
Yeah, that's the tough part, because if you only got one timeout, then now on that next play,
3rd and 3,
it either needs to be an incompletion or it needs to be a play that can get you out of bounds. The likelihood that you're going to be able to get up there and be able to get your kicking unit on the field, like that's going to be
if
tough.
You run and get a first down, you get up there, spike it. But if you don't get a first down, now you're rushing everyone up there to kick a 54-yard.
Yeah, you're rushing to change units, so that might have been a bit tough.
I get the clock thing, which, although I was joking with you before the show, I mean, there's a clock in the end zone. Dak's been looking at it all day, and that's what Dak said. He was like, "I just thought they trusted Zerline. Like I knew exactly what was going on. I'm looking at the clock under the goalpost, and I'm well aware of everything. I just thought they were fine with the field goal." And I'm just like, well, everybody knows that clock's down there. Can't you just look to your left and see what it says?
Well, that's easy to say. I will say that. I will say this though. If you also are dealing with, why is Pollard coming off the field? Pollard, you're supposed to go back on the field. Where's my clock? Oh, God. There's a lot going on.
I mean, that is a criminal level of disorganization. I mean, regardless of the clock. And that's the thing that bothers me is, you have 2 plays called in that situation. You should be a play ahead of the down. And whether it's coaching miscommunication or is it just purely on Tony, I don't know. But whoever, you can't do that in the NFL. Yeah. Tony's got to know. The coaches have to know. He ran the ball with 33 seconds left on the clock, and it wasn't even. It was just a straight run. Everybody in the building knew the clock was going to run when it was over, and nobody on the Cowboys seemed like they knew what to do in that situation. And I get all of these variables that were in the way, but just. I mean, Dak, call the play. Somebody do something.
What's weird about that is that when I asked a couple of players after the game, Pollard included, maybe also Zach Martin, they said, we practiced that 4-minute sequence more than anything. And I was like, ooh,
yeah,
really?
That was the part where I'm like, yeah, coach has to have. I know that there were other things involved, but there's some culpability with the coach in those situations, because if they practice that a lot, then maybe they should have practiced it a little bit more, because there was still this, at least from Tony's standpoint, Tony didn't know where he was supposed to be. Right?
I was so proud of the way that they played it. We talked about this. I was like, the kick needs to be the last thing that happens in this game.
Right.
And they slow played it so well. Like, they ran 11 freaking plays. I think they only ran. They started with, I think they had 3:58 when they took the ball. They only ran like 2 or 3 plays up until the 2-minute warning. They were deliberately trying to just bleed the clock out.
Yeah.
They throw the Jason Witten out route to Cedric Wilson. It's exactly what it was. Made me laugh. And I was like, this is amazing. They're doing it. They're doing what a smart team should be doing. And then the bottom just dropped out. It worked out. So, I mean, obviously, we would have done a half hour on this if it hadn't worked out. But it just... It shouldn't be that sloppy in the NFL. It just shouldn't be. And I get that the clock went out, but figure it out.
What did you guys think of it? I didn't love the play call that preceded it with the end around to Pollard. And the reason why was because I think if you're going to run that play, then you tell Pollard, look, the important thing here is get to the outside, because if we're going to do this, we want to give you the ability to be able to run out of bounds, because if they would have been able to get him out of bounds in that situation, you're in a better situation from the standpoint of the clock and managing the clock from there. I would have rather a pass play in that kind of situation rather than that, because he gets tackled in the middle of the field, and I think that's what puts you in the position in the first place.
Well, that sounds good about getting to the outside, but sometimes these players, to get outside, you have to give up a little bit to get there, and the worst thing that could have happened is give up more yards. You know, you got to go.
But did you question, like, he cut back in, and I think it was Dave, like, somebody was sitting beside me was like, I think we both at the same time were like, why did he cut back in? Like, he had more real estate, and he could outrun those guys to the outside.
I need to watch this. I woke up 2 hours ago, but I need to rewatch the game. But it reminded me.
Wait, let's be clear. You went to bed 3 hours ago.
Yes. Right. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah. Actually, I woke up an hour and a half ago.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
I mean, you took the red eye last night, so it's not like you've had like an hour of sleep maybe.
But in the moment, it reminded me of the option play from week 1. I felt like whoever was blocking on the boundary kind of lost contain, and it's a double-edged sword. I love Kellen's aggression. Because if they had gotten a block on the outside, I think you're right. I think Tony could turn that guy on the corner and probably get 15 yards. And all of a sudden, this is a very manageable field goal, and Kellen Moore looks like a genius. But you don't get the block, and even if they don't have the mess with the clock, you're still on the edge of field goal range. Yeah. I mean that's just football. It could have been the most amazing play call, but you don't get one block, and so it doesn't look that great in retrospect.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just, I think the whole sequence was a little bit baffling for me, but it worked out for me. And you're right. That could have gone really wrong, and that'd be what we're talking about today. Now, they wouldn't lose the game on that. They would go to overtime, but that's kind of part of the problem here. Is I think that there are a lot of people looking at this and saying, this isn't the first time there have been situations where you question the decisions coming from the coaches, and is this going to be an ongoing trend where against a better team you may not have the benefit of a win?
It goes back to the thing of I haven't seen what Mike McCarthy provides on game day yet. Just in terms of like that's his specialty. That's what we said the same thing about Jason Garrett for years. Like I'm not sure what he brings to game day that makes him better than the other team's coach. And this is a latest example. They got away with it, but it's not inspiring.
And 2 weeks in a row that they've also been bailed out right before halftime, where they've made decisions that could have cost them some points. I mean, I don't know why you're rushing the punt there.
Yeah.
Trying to block it.
Shoot, we didn't even get to that. Yeah.
And actually, I was going to talk about that tomorrow because I want to do a little bit of a bit deeper dive into just special teams and how it's being coordinated. This goes back to last year. This has been a situation where there have been some questionable calls and who's really making these calls and allowing them to happen. At some point, the head coach, if the special teams coordinator is a little more aggressive than you want, at some point you got to step in and be like, all right, slow this down a bit, and that doesn't seem to be happening. So
it reminds me of onside kicks, and I know they changed the rule a little bit to make it easier to recover an onside kick, but like the way they've changed the rules to make the game more safe have made onside kicks like incredibly hard to recover. And it's the same thing with blocking a punt. Like they're gonna throw the flag if the punter gets breathed on. They just are. It's like the old catch rule. Like, did Dez catch it? Of course. But the minute that they saw that it looked like he didn't have possession, there's landmarks that referees look for because the game moves so fast.
Like targeting.
Right. Yeah. And it leads to a lot of bad calls. I get that. The Cowboys didn't technically do anything wrong. Their guy I think it was Kamara, got pulled into the punter. I understand that. Guess what? All the ref sees is the punter's foot go above his head, and he's like, flag, you hit the punter. Sorry about it. And my point is, you might not like it, but what is the risk versus the reward? The risk is like at least 50% that you're going to draw a flag, and the reward is like a 2% chance that you block the punt? Like, how often do you see blocked punts in the NFL?
Now, one thing to note, I did hear this morning.
Did happen in week 1 between Pittsburgh and Buffalo.
And
but
the Chargers have, I want to say that they said the Chargers have had the most punts blocked all last year of any team in the NFL. So you may go into that game thinking there are opportunities here. Again, not saying that was the right situation for them to go for that, but that could have been something that factored into their decision.
And I'm sure it was. And I'm sure John will say that when he talks to the media later today.
Yep.
And I don't know. It just, risk versus reward just doesn't seem like it clicks for me.
All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to get a little bigger picture look at this team and around the NFC East. We'll also talk about the coordinators. I want to talk about what they're doing right now. We've been seeing a lot of good things from the offensive and defensive coordinators for sure. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Till then, for Nick Eatman and Dave Hellman, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!